Hello, here we are again at step 5. Step 5 says, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Once again, 4 and 5 go together, so we're running into the same thing that we talked about. We're going to join the human race again. We need to get rid of our unrealistic shame, the shame that causes us not to look at ourselves, and we need to get rid of false pride. And that's why we want to admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We have to understand that we're not the worst person that ever existed. We need to get rid of the disease of terminal uniqueness. But what we want to really deal with is the elephant that's in the room, as they say. We have an elephant in the room that we really don't want to deal with. You probably heard people say that we are as sick as our darkest secrets. I mean, it's no new thing that people are healed by confessing their sins, if you will, to someone else. Catholicism has been saying it for a long time, perhaps the right way, the wrong way they do it. I'm not into their method, but they understood that if you tell somebody the things that you've done, it has some sort of spiritual power. Not only that, but psychiatrists understood that if you lay on the couch and you just talk things out and they sat there in a non-judgmental way as best they could, it has some kind of healing power. Even in the other book, the big book, the good book, whatever you want to call it, it says, confess your sins one to another that you may be healed. It's something about taking things out of the darkness and bringing them into the light that gives us power and diminishes the power of the darkness or the negative side of life. And so this is what this step is about, that we want to admit to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. This goes against our will. This goes against that perverted will that we have, because we want to keep everything secret and tucked away. We don't want people to know or to look down on us. But if we are moving in the direction of recovery, we should be at the point now that we're willing to do some things that we didn't want to do. As a matter of fact, somebody said the only thing an addict needs to learn to do to stop being an addict is to learn how to say no to himself. An addict has to begin to do things that go against themselves. Sometimes people come and they say, I want help, I want help, I want help. But I'm not telling them people my story. I'll do anything, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. But I'm not telling them people my story. It's something deep down inside of us that wants to hide. And the people that came up with these steps understands that we can break the power of our addiction if we tell it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being. Now, a lot of people don't have any problem telling it to God. They figure he knew it anyway. But then there are other people who actually think they can hide it from God, that God doesn't know. As long as they don't say it, as long as they don't put it out there, then it's not really real. But I suggest that we get down to brass tacks and actually, again, pray. I'm sorry to say to those, I'm not saying be religious, I'm saying be spiritual. Some people pray one way, some people pray another way, some people think about it. Whatever way you do it, get in touch with your higher power and admit the exact nature of your wrongs to your higher power, your loving higher power. Okay, you have to admit it to God, but then there are some things we don't even want to admit to ourselves. That causes all kinds of neurosis. You know, people go into denial. You ever seen a person that someone in their family died a year or so ago and they're still setting the table for that person? They're still waiting for that person to come home. Everybody knows that there's a sickness there, some kind of denial. And a lot of us have done things that we just don't want to admit to anybody. I'm taking this to my grave, we say. Well, you may take it to your grave earlier than you would have to if you would only admit it to another human being. We need to admit the exact nature of our wrongs. Let me say it again. You are as sick as your darkest secret. And you are not that unique that your dark secret is something that no one else has ever done. You have not done anything new under the sun. So get over it. You're not that unique. Yeah, it may be bad. It may really be bad. It may be illegal. It may could cause some problems if too many people knew. And that's why you have to choose who you tell it to with prudence. You have to be wise about it. I would suggest you pray about who you're going to tell. Now, of course, you have some clergy that are bound by their vows not to tell another person. You have counselors that if they would tell another person can be sued. You know, they're bound by the law. Except for certain things, and you need to make sure that if it has anything to do with molesting a child, or if it has anything to do with homicide or something, then by the state they are required to tell it. So don't go to a counselor with something like that. But there are other people, of course, sponsors that you could speak with and tell these things. We need to tell another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And what do we mean by exact nature? We mean don't brush over it. Don't just say, yeah, I have a problem with jealousy. No, when were you when were you jealous? And when did you act on that jealousy? And why were you jealous? Was it because of your fear? Was it because of your insecurities? Was it because of your low self-esteem? Now, I'm not saying you have all that insight right now that you know yourself that well, but you did a moral inventory. You should know some things. And based on that moral inventory, what's the exact nature of your wrong? If you slapped your wife, why did you slap her? Did you slap her because you was in a blackout and you really don't know why? Okay. But did you slap her and you understood that you slapped her because you have a problem with anger and you have a problem with control issues and you have a problem with women speaking to you a certain way because your mother used to abuse you verbally? You need to connect the dots. Understand the exact nature of your wrongs. And sponsors can often help with that. Counselors can often help with that. And we know the higher power can help us with that. Talk about the exact natures of your wrong. Why did you do it? What I find is that when many people jump the hurdle and actually do this step, they find out that their sponsor and other people have done the same thing that they have done, and that they are not that bad. They're really not that bad. It's the boogeyman that wants to keep you from progressing up this road of happy destiny. I'm telling you as best I can in humility that if you do the fifth step, you're going to have a freedom that you never knew. As a matter of fact, the big book says that after you do the fifth step, you should go home for about an hour. Get yourself some lemonade or something. Just sit down for an hour, relax, and enjoy the spiritual significance and the spiritual power and hopefully probably some emotional things that are going to be going on, that you have been set free and that you are joining the rest of humanity now. Well, I'm talking kind of fast, but I know it's scary to think about telling anybody the exact nature of your wrongs. Some people have been molested. Some people have molested. Some people have cheated on their wife, their husband. Some people have been involved in, and I'm not coming down against anybody, but some people have been involved in homosexual activity and don't consider themselves a homosexual. It's just that they did it in their addiction. Maybe they are homosexual and they don't want anybody to know it and they on the down low. I mean, there's so many things that could go along with this step that are scary that just a fast-talking person can't convince you to do it. I'm not really trying to convince you to do it. I'm going back to the fact that these steps were put together by a group of people who spoke in the past tense. We admitted that we were powerless over our addictions. What are they saying? They're not saying that they're continually recovering. They say they have recovered, that they have a solution, that you don't always have to crave what you're craving. The promise of this step, the promise of the fact that if you do this, you can be recovered. Not continually running around scratching and clawing and hoping you don't do wrong again. You can actually recover from what has happened to you, but you have to be a man enough, a woman enough, a grown enough to go through with this step. They say there's suggested steps, but the big book says anyone who doesn't go through with the fourth and the fifth step, their foundation of recovery will be precarious. I think that's how you say the word, precarious. In other words, you could slip and fall anytime. You could slip and fall. And how many people have we seen in the room 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Bam, they slip and fall and bump their head. People have been in the rooms 5 years committing suicide. Now, that may be a chemical imbalance, but it could be other things. People have been in the rooms 10 years and now they're gone. They out there, gone again, doing what they were doing for 10 more years. What happened? What was the problem? Or maybe they never really told anybody the exact nature of their wrongs. I'm not saying it's magic in this step. I'm saying that it teaches us humility. It teaches us that we're not that unique. It helps us to rejoin the human race. And my God, it helps us to forgive ourselves. It helps us to forgive ourselves. And don't you want to forgive yourself? Aren't you tired of beating yourself down and making yourself think you're the worst person in the world? Aren't you tired of holding your head down or walking around in false vibrato, but inside you don't feel like anything? Aren't you tired of having something down in the crevices of your life saying, I hope they don't find out. I hope they don't find out. Aren't you tired of having an elephant in your living room? Sick and tired of being sick and tired? What am I doing? I'm pleading with you from my own experience that you do the step. I'm not telling you something I just read in a book. I'm not telling you something that you do it, but I don't have to do it. I've tasted the pie. I've walked up the road. I've been in the lockup. I've done it. I'm not going to universalize my experience and say that what you've done may not have more ramifications than the things I've done. Maybe it will. But what I'm saying to you is that there have been hundreds and thousands, maybe even millions of people that have done this, and they keep coming back saying that it set them free, it had a spiritual significance to it, that they are glad that they've done it. Now choose wisely. Yes, choose wisely. There have been people who went out and gossiped about some things they ought not. I'm not going to lie to you. There have been people that have told some things that they should not have told. I'm not going to lie to you. Easy does it in choosing a person. Easy does it, but do it. Easy does it, but do it. Don't put this thing on the back burner until next year this time. How long do you want to be sick? Do you want to recover? You don't have to be recovering for the next 10 years. You can recover. And I believe this step will open up the archway to having a mature and a sound recovery and a joyful recovery. These are the people you see laughing in the rooms, not crying in the rooms, always giving drug-a-logs and drunk-a-logs and talking about yesteryear. Why? They've been set free from that. They don't have to stay in that for the rest of their life. Oh, my friend. I don't know if you're in a treatment center right now, and I don't know where you are. I wish I could touch you and hold you and somehow just look at you and tell you the boogeyman is a lie. Did you do something bad? Is it terrible? That's not a lie. Could it have legal ramifications? Probably could. But there are more people in jail inside their own mind and their own suffering and consciousness, suffering in guilt and shame than there are behind the physical bars. I want to set you free from the chains that bind you in the inner man and the inner woman. Excuse me for saying I want to. I can't do it. The higher power can do it. I believe the higher power has given us these tools that you might be set free. I plead with you to do some serious thinking about it, some serious praying about it. And believe that the third step that you took, that there is a loving God that will protect you as you deal with imperfect human beings. Because whoever you tell it to is going to be an imperfect human being. I believe that God's got your back.